Dexter is a brand that seems to be given endless do-overs and second chances, no matter how many times it hurts its audience. And given the raving reviews on sites like Rotten Tomatoes, I think there is a lot of people hoping that this show is a return to form, and one that can finally give the ending this series deserves. But I'm here to tell them that they're wrong, and list all the reasons why Dexter Resurrection sucks. Number 1. Detective Wallace is an idiot. This character is essentially just a walking cliche at this point. I mean, how many times have we seen the autistic super detective before? She listens to upbeat rock music while she works, and she announces frequently that she isn't very good with people. All of this, of course, is supposed to communicate to the audience that Wallace is really good at her job. They even give her this lackey partner that essentially just chauffeurs her around, and pretty much is just there to tell everyone how smart Wallace is.
Mildly autistic super detectives everywhere. Basic cable, broadcast networks. Painful writing.
The irony of all of this, however, is that Wallace is a terrible detective. Her investigation goes about as well as a 3-year-old with Parkinson's in a china shop. So let me give you the rundown. In the first episode, Harrison murders Ryan Foster in his hotel room for attempting to become the show's first analrapist. Harrison then dismembers the body and throws it away in the trash. The next day, Ryan's body is found at the garbage dump, and Wallace is called in to investigate. And with the powers of super autism, Wallace somehow tracks the bags back to the hotel in a single night. However, in episode 2, she does nothing but speculate as to how the murder happened, and then allows the hotel staff to find all the footage of Ryan the night of the murder. Why wouldn't the police be the ones looking through the footage themselves? Surely you would want people with more professional investigative talents than underpaid security guards to go look through the most valuable evidence in the entire case. This isn't even considering the fact that Wallace also suspects that it was a member of the hotel staff that killed Ryan. So this is not only incompetent, but it also endangers the entire case, as the security guards are possible suspects or accomplices. For all Wallace knows, they could have been involved in the murder and want to cover it up. Hell, Harrison could have fucked with the video records himself had he wanted to.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
And why doesn't Wallace interview the entire hotel staff? Especially the ones working the night of the murder. You'd think that would be the first move, right? You know, get a list of the people that were working and all the guests who stayed there that night in order to get the widest range of witnesses possible. Instead, Wallace just so happens to see Harrison staring at Ryan's victim and decides to interrogate him afterwards. So instead of having her discover a valuable witness through her own investigation, she essentially just stumbles across it. Afterwards, Harrison manages to come up with an alibi using his Mexican housekeeper friend.
That's racist.
Damn.
Also, Wallace interviews Harrison in the hotel for some reason, and not at the police precinct.
What? What are you talking about? What? What?
Why would a veteran police detective be foolish enough to interrogate a murder suspect without recording the conversation, or doing it in a location that he could be easily intimidated or coerced in? There's a reason they call them interrogation rooms. So essentially, Wallace allows Harrison to outsmart her by doing as little investigative work as possible, and then neglects to find any other lead than Harrison himself, as again, she doesn't interview anyone. Now, this would all be a lot more forgivable had the show not tried to convince us that Wallace was some super detective. Resurrection repeatedly beats us over the head with this idea, but it doesn't actually show us any of her great qualities, and in fact, only reveals that she's an idiot.
What we got here is a little game of show and tell. You don't want to show me nothing, but you're telling me everything.
This makes her character pretty unbearable to watch, as she also looks down at all the men around her. The truth is, nobody likes a mouthy dumbass. And the writers apparently still think it's 2019 when you could write a female character this way and have it be forgiven.
Wrong!
Number 2. Batista is even more of a remarkable individual than Detective Wallace is. Now, after watching the first half of this season, I can confidently say that Batista would likely eat a shoe if you put it on a plate and called it dinner. Okay, so Resurrection begins with Dexter waking up from a coma after Harrison shot him in New Blood. Batista by this time has caught up with him and wants to prove that he is the Bay Harbor Butcher. The show states that the only reason Batista doesn't immediately arrest Dexter is because he has no evidence that he's the killer. Which, sure, I guess he's missing the evidence he needs for that particular arrest, but it's not like Batista doesn't have a bunch of other crimes to charge Dexter with. In fact, there's a huge laundry list of crimes that Dexter is committing that could easily have him wind up in jail. Let's go through them, shall we? Number 1. Dexter fakes his death. In the finale of the original show, Dexter fakes his own death, which is considered misleading to authorities. This counts as obstruction of justice and possibly insurance fraud depending on his life insurance policy. Of course, Dexter is currently avoiding prosecution, so that also counts as neglecting legal responsibilities.
Technically, faking your death isn't a crime.
Number 2. Identity fraud. Dexter, of course, creates a new identity, calling himself Jim Lindsay. This means that he would also have to falsify legal documents, such as a driver's license and social security number. Number 3. Weapon violations. We see Dexter use a rifle in New Blood, which he would likely had to have purchased with his fake ID, making his gun ownership illegal. Again, another felony. Number 4. Financial fraud. Assuming Dexter filed his taxes, opened bank accounts, and worked legally as Jim Lindsay, he committed tax fraud, bank fraud, and employment fraud. These crimes alone can earn you up to 20 years in prison. Number 5. Illegal disposal and desecration of human remains. Batista quite literally has security footage of Dexter taking Debbie's body out of the hospital without permission.
The last glimpse I had of you was security footage of you wheeling her out of the hospital.
Dexter not only admits to doing so, but also stupidly confesses to Batista that he left her body in the ocean. Now, I don't know about you guys. When I illegally dispose of dead bodies, I don't admit it to police officers, because that's called confessing to a crime, something you can certainly be arrested for. Number 6. Theft from a medical facility and unlawful removal of a body. Hospitals treat deceased patients as property of the state until legal release procedures are followed. Removing Deb without clearance violates state health and public safety codes, and is again something Batista has witnessed Dexter do.
Don't worry, Batista doesn't have anything. I talked to him.
What the hell are you talking about?
But you could say that maybe Batista only wants to arrest Dexter for being the Bay Harbor Butcher and won't settle for any lesser charges like the ones I mentioned. However, surely just by arresting Dexter and combing through his life as Jim Lindsay, there's a strong possibility of discovering many other crimes he committed. After all, Batista knows he's a serial killer, and he's aware that Dexter was shot, also something likely connected to a murder spree. However, instead of having these characters act like real human beings with thinking brains, Resurrection instead sweeps this all under the rug as Dexter is apparently pardoned by his ex-girlfriend, which is not only lazy and stupid, but it also drops all the consequences for him as a character. This guy goes through an entire season of television, murdering people and breaking the law, only to get caught in the act and shot, but manages to get out of everything without a proper explanation. Even without all the murders, Dexter would still be locked away for most of his life, and would go bankrupt from all the legal fees and payments to the government. In other words, Dexter is screwed, and Batista very much has the ability to arrest him, despite what the show tells us. Resurrection so desperately wants us to move on and forget about what happened, but in the process, they manage to destroy the very narrative this show is built on. And it's not like these problems couldn't easily be fixed. It would have been pretty easy just to have Dexter escape from custody once again, and have him be on the run in New York. This would have created a lot more tension in his decision making, as there would be something he's actually running from. As it is though, Dexter runs away from Batista for no real reason. The entire sequence of Dexter's escape from the hospital also just makes Batista look like a bumbling idiot. I mean, this guy has been waiting for like a decade to get some closure on this whole Bay Harbor Butcher thing. He then flies across the country to interrogate one of his best friends, whom he suspects of being a serial killer, and for some reason, he abides by the hospital visiting hours? I'm pretty sure with a police badge and a murder investigation going on, you'd be able to bend the rules on when you could see someone in the hospital. But instead, Batista lets this nurse push him around, which allows Dexter to escape.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Number 3. Dexter Resurrection microwaved my cat and pushed my grandmother into traffic. Before I wrap things up, I wanted to point out a few things that felt really weird, or were just plain idiotic. For example, when Batista meets Harrison, the two reminisce about his sister, and Batista says that she's gotten a PhD and is now a middle school principal. Wait, what? You don't need a PhD for that position. So either Batista's sister failed to get the job she actually wanted, or she wasted time getting a degree she never needed in the first place. It's an odd mistake, but it's one of many that makes the writers look like they have never spent time in the real world before. There's also this scene.
Maria told me, in confidence, that she was certain that you were the Bay Harbor butcher.
By in confidence, do you mean publicly announcing it at the police station when she arrested Dexter?
Maria, what are you doing?
On my way on him.
Why is Dexter in handcuffs?
I have proof he's the Bay Harbor butcher.
Crazy, huh?
Insane.
I mean, he's quite literally in between Maria and Batista here. Dexter is certainly aware that she was suspicious of him. I mean, how hard is it to maintain the continuity of this show? Now, I think I've made it pretty apparent that I don't really respect Dexter Resurrection. And it's not because weekly crime shows are bottom feeders of television, or that I have a difficult time spelling resurrection. Fuck! It's because this show is so goddamn lazy. It's pretty obvious that the creators don't expect their audience to think about what they're watching, and that always bothers me. I like a little effort put into the shows I watch, and I think Dexter just doesn't have that. They know they have a built-in audience who just want to see a bunch of narration, plastic wrap, and some weird serial killers. And that's fine to some degree, but there's a lot of messy problems in the show that I just can't get over. And I'm gonna wait to judge the Serial Killer Society plotline for now. I mean, it's pretty bad, but it's not too egregious yet, so we'll have to wait and see. So if you don't like to think, or you can forgive a lot of bad writing, then Dexter Resurrection is a show for you. Well, thank you for watching my video. If you liked it, let me know down in the comments section, and I might do a part 2. And of course, hit that like and subscribe button, and like always, I'll see you on the next one.